Greetings, Watford fans. And this is the Uorns 10-minute take, the Uorns TMT for Norwich City 1, Watford 3 in the Premier League in this match day 5. Watford with a must win, and they delivered, as I predicted that they would. And they had to do it. And Cisco's job was in the balance. I really believe that had they not won this game today, particularly if they had lost this game today. But thankfully, for another week at least, a bit more than that now, definitely. Cisco won't have to worry about the safety of his position. Watford fans won't be nervously wondering about their existence in the Premier League. I have expressed confidence about this team even last week. I have said here and on the podcast that I have confidence in the team, I have belief in the team, and that you really should judge Watford when you get to games 8, 9, and 10. I did add that, yes, it's obvious what you're seeing right now in the short term, some difficulties, some stumbles, some things that are happening in their game that you don't want to see. But I do believe, and I did say this when we lost, and I'm going to say it again now that we've won, is that Watford will finish in 11th place, comfortably in mid table. And you haven't yet seen what this team is, what I think it is, what I think it will be, I should say. We haven't seen that yet, really. We've seen flashes of it, but I think for the first time today, we saw a Watford side that put it all together, pretty much all throughout that game. They got the balance right. They got the balance between defense and midfield and attack correct for the most part today. It was a solid professional performance. It was a very good performance. It was a forward thinking performance today from the Orns. And what's more than that, it was a performance where the mentality came to play. I said last week that mentality was going to be the biggest issue and the biggest key for Watford in any of these games. It wasn't going to be formation, it wasn't going to necessarily be personnel, and it wasn't going to be anything else but the mentality. And true, Cisco did put out a better lineup. He did put out a team that had four crucial changes, and those were important. But my point is that those four changes were very effective in a certain presence and mentality in the spine of that team. And you saw it today, cleverly made captain back in the side, in the center of that midfield, either side of him, Kuchka, and of course, Sissoko, who I thought had a marvelous game today. I think he'll be overlooked, but I think he was very good. But the point is you put people in with experience and a mentality and a mindset that weren't in these games in their proper positions. Now, Cathcart does not belong at right back. He belongs in central defense. Cleverly should start these games. Now, I get it. The first game against Spurs that he was sitting, um, the manager thought Ateba was a better spot. And of course, Sissoko was always going to start that game. They did not bring him to Watford to sit on a bench and come off the bench. They brought him to Watford to be a change maker and a difference maker and a important presence in that midfield. And so far, I think he has been. I think he has grown into his role at Watford, has Sissoko. And I think today he had his best game for Watford. I love the way he patrolled that midfield, marshaled that midfield, gave spacing to that midfield, gave a sense of discipline to that midfield, was able to recycle the ball in and out of possession. He was so good at being able to close off space when Watford didn't have the ball. When they did have the ball, his passing was very comfortable and easy. There's a silkiness about Sissoko as he continues to show you why he is a really good player in midfield and why he was so good at Tottenham and why he's been in the French national team, because he is very good on the ball and he's able to recycle possession and distribute the ball very well. No muss, no fuss. And sometimes he goes forward. Now, Cisco's not having him go forward as of yet because he's got people around there who can do that. But one of the things I called for last week was more creativity in the midfield and more movement. Today, you saw it. You had a mentality in there with Cleverly, a mentality in there with Kuchka today. He played a lot better today. I liked the way he played. a bit more aggressive, even though the first few passes were a little sloppy. He grew into the game and never let those first couple of stray passes stop him from doing what he was there to do. And he stuck at it. And that's the mentality that I'm talking about, the mentality to keep sticking with the game plan, to be forward thinking, to be on the front foot, the mentality with those changes that were made, with Foster in goal, the veteran, a mentality. That's what the biggest thing was for me in this game today, was the mentality up and down the pitch from 1 through 11. That was what was the difference. And they all brought it to the game. It wasn't just the changes, it was everybody. Everybody was on the same page today, in my view. I thought that Josh King up front was very good. I loved the runs he was making, running in behind, creating spaces, being active, being lively, wanting it. He had a hunger today. Josh King actually has played quite well in all of these games. He's been very busy. He's been very lively, very energetic. He is a tireless worker. Josh King, look, he hasn't got the goal yet, and that's the thing. His play today deserved a goal, and he'll get goals. The goals will come for Joshua King. I have every confidence in him, and I have every confidence in that. The goals will come for Josh King. And so his play today, I thought his best in a Watford shirt. I love the assist he provided for Sarr in Sarr's first goal. Obviously, Sarr, the man of the match today. I don't think there's any question about Sarr. Just really good today. He was really on it today. And unlike Wolves, where he seemed a little bit tired coming off of international duty, whatever it was, he just didn't have the same bite and the same snap and the same precision to his passing. Today, he began to get invested back into that again. And you saw how effective he was. And even when he scored the first goal he scored in the second half of the game, his confidence just grew and he bossed it. I mean, Watford controlled this game. In the first half, in the second half, there was a better balance between the halves of play. How many times have I sat here and you've sat and thought, my goodness, one half is good and the other half is horrible, or both halves are horrible, or one half was quite good and the other half was forgettable. We said that last week against Wolves. Quite good first half, second half forgettable. Today, not a case of any of that. First half was good, second half was actually even better. And the first half for me, if I can just go back to it now, is Watford scoring after the 17th minute, Emmanuel Dennis getting in behind after a really good pass um, from Sarr. I just really like Sarr's passing today, and Sarr supplied the goal for Dennis. Dennis made no mistake. I believe it was Sarr who crossed it. I may be mixing that up actually, because I think Femenia had a role in that too, perhaps, and from the right side there. I actually forget now who it was that supplied the ball in. I know Danny Rose had to build up. I think Femenia was involved in that too. But in any event, um, it was a really good header, and I liked the attack from Dennis. I liked the approach. He got in there, and he was fearless today, Dennis. That's what you want to see from your striker. Someone that's fearless. That's what you want to see from your forwards. Someone that's fearless has got a little devil in them. I talked about that last week, and Dennis put his head where a lot of strikers won't do that these days. You remember back in the 70s and the 80s when strikers would be diving into everything. They'd risk getting seriously injured. And Dennis did that again with a diving header, kind of stooped header, and into the back of the net, two defenders around him. And there you go, 1-0 Watford. Watford then, I think, did not build on that lead the way they should have. I think they sat back a little bit in that first half, invited Norwich on. And I think that's the only criticism I have in this entire game is in that first half, Watford should have bagged a second or a third goal. That's my only thing. And they sat back and they shouldn't. I know it's the Premier League and you don't want to leave yourself open, but Norwich have to do the work here. And I get it that you're inviting them on because you don't want, um, you know, you're hoping to get them on the counter, which is what Watford's play has been. And what this game showed you is that Watford's counter attack is very much intact. And that's really the style of play that 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 Cisco has developed and really fashioned here in his time at Watford thus far. And you've seen it. You saw it today. The counter attack went well and was very good. But I think Watford had to be even more forward thinking in that first half there. And they invited Norwich on. And then you saw what happened there in the 35th minute of the game. And that conceding of that goal there, I think the defense largely had it right. Cathcart did get caught out. He does not have those legs, obviously. He doesn't have the pace. We know that about Cathcart, but he's an excellent defender. But it was Ben Foster who was very good today, other than that mistake. I think he should have come out of goal and committed himself, make himself big. There was a defender behind him to cover. So and maybe Ben Foster didn't know that, didn't see that. Maybe there was no communication. I don't know. But I do know that Ben Foster should have come out a bit more out of his goal, make that space much even smaller than it was. And yes, the argument is, well, if he comes out off his line a lot further, there's a possibility that Pookie could chip him, lob him into the goal. I get that. But I think what you've got to do there is trust your own skills and instincts as a goalkeeper and make that space really small and make yourself big. Pookie has a decision to make there. There's coverage behind you, whether you maybe you didn't know that, but you've got to have a little bit more decision making in that moment. But maybe that's a little bit harsh on Foster, although certainly for me, he should have come out a bit more and a bit closer. But look, right now that's really academic, isn't it? Because we got the 3 points today, which I said we'd get. I felt confident about it. Talked about it here. Talked about it on the podcast. I think that Watford now have a base to build on. This was a very good away performance. This was the kind of performance that Watford are going to continue to need to have in the Premier League, week in, week out, where everybody is on the same page. They're not going to win every single one of those games, but this is what they have to play like. And like I said, when we get to games 8, 9, and 10, we will begin to have a stronger idea of which Watford we're going to be getting every week. I mean, people might say, some fellow Watford fans might say, we still don't know from 3 seasons ago what Watford we're going to get every week. But I think that stability is important. And if you have this particular lineup on the field every week to start with, I think you'll be in really good shape. But look, I'm confident about Watford to begin with, and I'm positive and optimistic about Watford and realistic about them at the same time. And as I say, I think that with this group, and I said this even before they got some of the acquisitions they got, like a Tufan, like a Kuchka, like those kinds of players, I said that Watford were going to finish 11th, and I think they were going to do so comfortably. Now, look, there's a long way to go. Second win of the season in the Premier League, very important win. I did also say that it was very important to score early in this game. The first 15 minutes or so was going to be the key, and they did that. They scored in the 17th minute. So again, they did exactly what I was hoping for, exactly what I thought they would do, exactly what I said they had to do. Score early and bring a mentality to the game and be in the ascendancy and be on the front foot. They were all of those things. And the goal came just before the half. Okay, so you could say a little lapse, but really that was a goalkeeping situation, nothing more. I think the team did well off the throw in, but the point is that they did everything else right. They came to play with a mentality that said, we're going for this. We want this win. We're coming to get it from you. We're coming to take the 3 points. And that's exactly what they did. Even in the build up to the week, Backman, who was out today, someone has been saying that perhaps there was an injury. I don't know one way or the other on that, but I do know that he was demoted to the bench regardless. And Ben Foster, some people were even calling for Ben Foster last week and the week before that. Certainly at Spurs, they were after Backman's era. And I think this is a learning lesson now for Backman, because I don't know he's going to get that place back, whether he's injured or not. I think Ben Foster today, in truth, did not have a whole heck of a lot to do. But Ben Foster today, I thought, did not do himself any harm, even with the mistake. He's solid. He's a professional, like everybody is on Watford, but he is someone who is going to have a bit more leadership in that goal, even though, as I said, in that one mistake he made, he didn't show much of it. But Foster today is a presence. He was I thought he was good. I thought, again, you've got experience there. I think it's going to be hard for Backman to get that place back. Now, listen, it's just one game. We will see if Backman is not injured. We will see if he gets to play on Tuesday against Stoke. That I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday against Stoke, or whenever that game is. I think it is coming up this coming Wednesday or so. I don't remember what day that game is in the Carabao Cup. Um, but I don't know. I really don't know. I suspect it's Tuesday. But the bottom line is, um, look, I think Backman's going to have a hard time getting that number one shirt back. We'll see, though. Foster today did not do himself any real harm. I mean, he really didn't overall. And Norwich had maybe 10 minutes of that game where they were all hands to the pump. But aside from that, Watford bossed the game. We bossed midfield. I felt that midfield was going to be the area of the pitch that was going to be the most important in this game. I thought it was going to come down to that. And it did. It did. You saw what Watford's midfield was like today. You saw how they recycled possession. You saw how they fought to get the ball back. You saw how they controlled the middle of that park and how they allowed for others to get away and run, other Watford players to run. They were able to create space. They were able to pass into passing lanes for the runners. I mean, that's your midfield. That's a midfield that's got something. There's some connective tissue to that midfield. They're creating something. They're moving the ball. I called for better ball movement, and that's what they did today. They moved with the ball better. They moved into space better. They had a bit of creativity in them. They had some good passing, and I thought the defense today was very good. Danny Rose had a very good game, even though I think he's still a little bit short of match fitness. He just needs more games. This is a guy that's played maybe four Premier League games in the last 2 years. The man needs a bit more fitness, and you can understand. So I'm not criticizing Danny Rose at all. Danny Rose, I thought, did very well today. He's very fortunate, though, he didn't give a penalty. The referee, for the likes of me, I don't know how he didn't blow the whistle for that. But listen, I'm not complaining. Danny Rose played very well today, as did all the defense. Cathcart, I thought Troost-Ekong was very solid today. I thought that Femenia was good today. Shame he got injured. It's a real worry and a sad thing to see a player who's worked so hard to come back so hard from this groin injury that he's had. And now that he's injured again here, it's a sad thing. And I do, by the way, want to send Kiko Femenia all my best wishes for a speedy recovery and a swift return. Um, you did give everything today. I know it was a brief time on the pitch, but I appreciate your hard work. And I know that lots of other fellow Watford fans really do appreciate you and what you bring to Watford. And so thank you, and a speedy recovery to you. Sorry to hear about this injury or whatever it is that obviously clearly you couldn't continue in the match. I just hope that you're able to get back on the pitch, and most importantly that you're able to recover and get back to your place in that right back position where you belong. Absolutely. That was the only thing about this game that was not good. Seeing Femenia walking off, apparently to me very clearly injured. So speedy recovery to him and get well soon as well. And we'll see you soon, Kiko. You've been really good for us. No question about it. So I want to just make that point. But you saw today, Cleverly being in that team, starting made a difference. Cathcart being where he should be in central defense makes a difference. I think you're going to see that pairing again next week against Newcastle. I don't see why not. Why not? They did well today. Why are you going to put Sierralta back in there? Sierralta probably played the game during the week in the Carabao Cup, right? You need a Premier League side that has nous. And Watford showed you that today. Ismaila Sarr, best player we've got, his confidence really told in that second half, didn't it? Just the way he strode around like he owned Carrow Road. I mean, he strolled around like he owned the place. I mean, that to me is exactly what you want to see. You want to see players who are fearless, who take charge, who've got a little devil in them, who are not afraid on the big stage, on the road, wherever it is, whether it's Carrow Road or whether it's, Anfield Road. You've got to have players in this league who are fearless. And Saw today returned to that. I think he was a little bit tired last week. I don't want to make excuses. I think he was a little bit tired. I think he was a little bit short of where we expect from him now. We're kind of spoiled with Saw because we expect this every week from him. He's the Saw man, and as the Watford song, the Rookery song, you know. I'm not going to repeat it here, but you know the song, right? And that personifies him. We love him. We as Watford fans love Saw, and we love the man here. And he got himself 2 goals. Unfortunately, did not get the hat trick that he certainly merited. He should have got it. We could have come out of Carrow Road with 6 goals. Could have. Could have run out of there 6-1 winners today. No reason why not. There was a great pass by Saw that went to Dennis. I think it was in the second half, and Dennis was stretching for it. I don't know if it was the first half or the second half. I would forget. Dennis just missed it. Just missed it with his leg. It was such a great ball from Saw. Saw, I mean, just a complete package today. He tracked back. He was very much fluid in his movement. He had good decision making today, which I felt that he didn't last week. All around, a very good team performance. I think Josh King, unlucky not to get a goal. He'll get one because he's just worked so hard for this team. I really do think he's going to come good very soon. And as I've said, you know, very happy about this win. Watford fans, fellow Watford fans, hope you are too. There's still room for improvement, like in everything, of course. I don't think we should have sat back after the first goal. When you're on the road, you have to keep going, hammer and tongs. But Watford came out with the right mentality, and that was we're coming here to take 3 points from you. Now, see, what are you going to do about it? That was the mentality today. And they never stopped in that second half. That's what made me really happy. They never stopped, whereas in the first half, they sat back a little bit after they got the 1-0 lead, and then Norwich ended up scoring before the end of the half. In the second half, they didn't do that. I'm sure there were words said, maybe Cisco, whomever, said something to them about that. And they kept going. They're up 3-1. They wanted more. They wanted it. And they wanted more. They weren't satisfied. We're going to get out of here with a 3-1 win. They kept going. They should have had a fourth. They should have had a fifth. They could have had a sixth. I mean, this is what I've been saying all along, these last couple of weeks at least, and for a long time in previous seasons. They've got to have the mentality. This is not I mean, personnel are obviously important, and yes, formations are important in games. Don't get me wrong. What you have to make tactical switches, you have to make formation changes, you have to do those things. I'm not dismissing those. But what, in my view, is the most important thing is the mentality. You can have all kinds of formation changes and personnel changes, but if you don't apply a mentality that says we're coming in here to take points off of you, the lot, we're coming back to Vicarage Road with all 3 of these. If we don't have that mentality, we're not going to end up with score lines like we did today. We're going to end up with defeats or draws. So, look, first away win of the season. We've won 5 straight against Norwich. We end our losing streak. We end our scoreless streak. And we come back home with 3 points. To all Watford fans,